So this past week, a reporter named Lauren Windsor at The Undercurrent got a hold of audio from a Republican lawyer named Cleta Mitchell, who gave a presentation to a bunch of donors at the RNC about efforts to suppress voting for young people. Here's a quick clip if you haven't heard it yet.
So we need to be looking at what are these college campus locations in polling. What is this young people effort that they do? They basically put the polling place next to the student dorm, so they just have to roll out of bed, vote, and go back to bed. And we need to build strong election integrity task forces in those counties. Virginia, we have a great task force in every county in Virginia, and we have a great statewide coalition. The governor just signed a bill yesterday that does away with signatures on absentee ballot applications and ballots, and now it has to be the last 4 digits of the Social Security number and a birth year. And we need to make sure that there's transparency and people are watching and verifying. That makes Virginia back in play, frankly, to be able to have some authentication. And again, having first day in-person voting campaigns. Wisconsin is a big problem because of the polling locations on college campuses. There are 501c3s. Their goal for the Supreme Court race was to turn out 240,000 college students in that Supreme Court race. And we don't have anything like that, and we need to figure out how to do that and how to combat that.
And here's the kicker. Mitchell's presentation was titled A Level Playing Field for 2024, because preventing the most likely Democratic voters from casting their ballots is apparently what Republicans consider leveling the playing field. But their own stupid comments aside, what they're doing, these efforts, are real and they are already playing out in the states. Republicans are currently targeting on-campus voting in a number of states, including New Hampshire, Idaho, and Texas. They're trying to make it so that out-of-state students aren't able to cast their ballots where they go to school. And Mitchell is looking to target her efforts in a number of states as well, including Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, Virginia, and Wisconsin, all of which have major student populations because of big universities. Republicans are fighting against pre-registration of students, where 17-year-olds are able to register in advance of their 18th birthday so that once they turn 18, they'll be eligible to vote without delay. And of course, Democrats are challenging this stuff, and we're mostly winning, but we're not winning everywhere. I want to show a quick clip from my interview with Mark Elias from last week, where he explains exactly what's happening here.
But what's also happened is the volume of Republican energy before the courts has quintupled, like it's gone up dramatically. So when I look at a number like there were 93 lawsuits filed by Republicans and conservatives in 2022. I mean, there were only 150 lawsuits filed in all of 2020, and that included 65 post-election lawsuits. So you look at like the volume of energy, it feels like even though we are still winning, each of those losses is cutting deep. And so what I'm worried about is like, it's great. I can say to you, we won 116 victories, we lost 35. But that 35, when you then couple on the ability of Republican legislatures to pass more bad laws, it's like you're just constantly spinning on a treadmill in which democracy is losing a half a step every mile or so. It doesn't feel like you're losing ground, but you really are kind of losing ground. So, we're doing everything we can to sort of put our thumb in the dike to keep democracy from flooding over. But fundamentally, we need electoral change. We need democracy reform. We need to break the fever within the Republican Party.
So again, yes, we're winning most of these cases, but if a Republican introduces a voter suppression law and it's upheld, then on net, it is still a step backwards because that's still a voter suppression law that didn't exist before, and yet now it's been validated by the courts. And Republicans know that it can't hurt to try, which is why they're doing it. And that's made easier by all these right-wing judges who don't care what the law says because their priority is helping their political party. And so Republicans will go judge shopping, just like they did for the Mifepristone case, for example, because they know they'll get the outcome that they want. That outcome is preordained. All of which is to say, confirming judges is monumentally important, which is probably why we shouldn't have an 89-year-old senator who's had declining health for years now and is now stuck in the hospital serving on judiciary with a race-within majority, which effectively ends Democrats' ability to confirm judges. But that's a story for a different video. But just as a quick aside, If you're looking at the Republican Party's agenda and wondering why they would double down on banning abortions and banning books and coddling fossil fuels and protecting millionaires and billionaires, despite the fact that literally none of those things even come close to being popular, it's because they don't need a popular agenda. They're not trying to earn votes. That's the point. That is why they're running this multi-pronged approach, where they do the things that their donors want, like repeal the estate tax and ban abortion, while also just preventing people from voting who aren't likely to vote for them because of that agenda. They've given up on trying to win on their platform. Now they're just rigging the game to their favor. And we got some insight into this thanks to this recording by Cleta Mitchell, but this strategy isn't new. They've been doing it for years now. They're just more overt about it now because for the first time in U.S. history, my generation, millennials, aren't getting more conservative. They're staying liberal, and that's never happened before. Republicans have always been able to bank on refilling their ranks as the previous generation ages out, but that's done. And so this is existential for them. That is why they are being so shameless. That's why they don't care about the optics. They don't have the luxury of discretion anymore because there's no time. Like, look at Wisconsin, for example. They lost their majority on the court, which may very well mean that we'll see new maps in that state very soon. Republicans may have lost Wisconsin for the foreseeable future because they rely on those gerrymanders to entrench their majorities, their ill-gotten majorities. But as soon as they lose them, as soon as the system is fair, then it's really, really hard to get back. They took Wisconsin as a warning, as a shot across the bow, because they know that if what happened there happens in the other states, then they're done. They've already lost the future. They've already lost Gen Zs and millennials. So at this point, they're just trying to cling on to whatever they can. So look, I know this stuff is particularly dark, but there is a silver lining here. That same extremism that they're employing to rig the system right now is precisely what is pushing independent voters away. We've seen it for 3 cycles in a row now. Even in this past cycle, when Biden had an underwater approval rating and we had sky-high inflation, Republicans still couldn't win the Senate, and their red wave in the House turned into a majority of just a handful of people. And even still, despite all of that, still they're passing more abortion bans and book bans and don't say gay laws, and they're attacking Disney and they're attacking gay kids. And while that might work with the base, it only pushes the rest of the country away. And I would never say that we are guaranteed victory for 2024, but I am saying that a really good way for Republicans to keep losing is by doing exactly what they're doing now. And so if we can eke out a majority in the Senate, in the House, in the White House coming up in 2024, then we can pass the For the People Act, we can pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, and we can get national protections and undo so much of the damage that we are contending with right now. And I know that feels far away, but we could be a lot closer than it seems. And that would quite literally change politics in this country forever.